In a world that celebrates charm, youth, and the effortless allure of being cute, an invisible chain is forged around countless women. At first glance, being sweet, innocent, and carefree seems like a gift, a golden ticket to attention, protection, and admiration. But behind the soft laughter, wide eyes, and eternally playful persona lies a deeper psychological cost that few dare to confront. Today, we'll dive into the heart of what Carl Jung called the puella eterna, the eternal girl archetype, and how modern society silently encourages women to stay emotionally unripe under the guise of beauty, charm, and innocence. This is not just about appearances. This is about a psychological pattern that can quietly sabotage relationships, careers, identity, and even the capacity to face suffering with strength. The problem begins when the external image of being eternally youthful starts to replace inner evolution. She becomes trapped not by others, but by her own unconscious choice to remain lovable rather than real, delightful rather than deep. Let's be clear, there's nothing wrong with being playful or joyful. The danger comes when these traits are used to avoid responsibility, emotional maturity, and integration of one's shadow. Jung warned us that refusing to grow up is not freedom. It is a prison of perpetual avoidance. Imagine this, a woman in her 30s who still giggles like a schoolgirl, avoids commitment with a charming shrug, changes jobs every 6 months, and calls every emotional confrontation too heavy. She believes that life should feel like a light-hearted dream, and when the dream ends, she escapes. Sound familiar? You may know someone like this. You may even see pieces of yourself. This is the eternal girl in action. She lives in pursuit of excitement, novelty, and idealized love. She expects others to take care of the serious parts of life, money planning, decision making, while she floats on the surface, emotionally distant yet demanding intimacy. Her motto is, "Don't box me in, I just want to be free." But here's the secret. What looks like freedom is often fear in disguise, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of being seen not as a fantasy, but as a flawed, real human being. Carl Jung believed that each of us must confront and integrate different archetypes within our psyche to become whole. The puella eterna is one of them. She is not evil or broken, but she represents a stage that must be outgrown for true individuation. Think of her as a beautiful but fragile mask that must eventually be set down. The mask itself is built on persona, the face we show the world. The eternal girl persona is carefully constructed to be disarming, desirable, and non-threatening. But as Jung taught, the more we invest in the persona, the more we suppress the shadow, the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge, and what lies in the shadow of the eternal girl rage. Envy, entitlement. Fear, emotional manipulation. These are the traits that emerge when the mask slips, when the cute smile turns cold, when the soft voice becomes passive aggressive, when the flirtation becomes withdrawal. Because she never learned to stand on her own, she learns to control others with the vulnerability instead. Let's look at how this archetype plays out in modern life. On social media, soft girl culture thrives, blush aesthetics, pastel moods, baby voices. But underneath the curated innocence is often a fear of being taken seriously. In relationships, the eternal girl may attract masculine partners who want to protect or dominate, but the dynamic quickly becomes imbalanced. Resentment brews. One partner carries the emotional and practical weight while the other drifts. Over time, what once felt magical becomes suffocating. Professionally, the eternal girl may avoid taking leadership roles, fearing failure or being disliked. She may settle for just enough and blame the system rather than risk growth. She may be brilliant but refuses to assert herself. She may be creative but avoids deadlines. She may have vision but avoids execution. Why? Because stepping into adult responsibility means stepping away from the protection of cuteness. It means risking being judged, misunderstood, or worst of all, seen without filters. Here's the truth.
Every archetype, including the eternal girl, has a sacred role. She teaches us how to stay connected to wonder, beauty, and joy, but she is not meant to run your entire life. When she dominates the psyche, she stunts growth. She fears aging, not because of wrinkles, but because maturity threatens her control over others. She resists commitment, not because she doesn't want love, but because love demands depth.
She fears solitude not because she dislikes being alone, but because silence forces her to meet herself. The price of staying in the eternal girl state is that you never meet your true self. You live in performance. You trade power for attention. You become dependent on being adored rather than respected. So, how do we break the chain? How do we evolve beyond the eternal girl while honoring her gifts? The answer lies in conscious integration. The first step is awareness. Ask yourself, where am I avoiding responsibility in the name of freedom? Where am I using charm to avoid conflict? Where do I refuse to grow because I fear being unloved? Second shadow work is crucial. Begin journaling the parts of yourself you find ugly or wrong. Watch how those traits show up in your relationships, especially when you're triggered. Are you manipulative when you don't get your way? Do you pretend to be helpless to avoid effort? These are not accusations, they are invitations to grow. Third, build inner structure. The eternal girl resists routine planning and discipline, but these very things are the medicine she needs. Structure creates safety for the self to emerge. Set boundaries, keep your word, make small commitments and honor them. It's not about perfection, it's about proving to your own psyche that you are capable of growth. Fourth, embrace your anger and grief. Many eternal girls suppress rage because it breaks the image of sweetness. But buried beneath the sweetness is a lot of resentment, often from childhood. Maybe you were rewarded only when you were easy to love. Maybe you were punished for showing emotion. Maybe you learned that being likable was the safest option. Reclaiming your full emotional range is a radical act of individuation. Rage can become clarity, grief can become depth.
Vulnerability can become power, not a tool for manipulation, but a doorway to real intimacy. Finally, reconnect with your inner wise woman. Jung called this the archetype of the crone, not a scary witch, but the deeply grounded, truth telling part of you that fears no shadow. She doesn't need to be adored, she needs to be real. When you let her guide you, you begin to see the eternal girl not as a threat, but as a younger part of you that deserves care, not control.
This journey is not easy. Our culture rewards eternal girlhood, it sells youth, it mocks maturity. But if you want to become whole, if you want real love, real purpose, real peace, you must walk away from the fantasy and into the fire of becoming. This is the fire that burns off illusion and reveals the diamond beneath. You will not lose your joy, you will deepen it. You will not lose your charm, you will root it in truth. You will not lose your softness, you will anchor it in strength. And that, dear viewer, is the real power not in staying sweet forever, but in becoming fierce, free, and fully human. So I leave you with this. Who are you when no one is watching? What do you fear people will see if you stop performing? And who might you become if you had the courage to grow up, not just in age, but in soul? The eternal girl may live in you, but she does not have to lead you. Let her rest, let her transform, and let the real you rise.